What's up? I'm your old friend B. Welcome back to the channel. So, as much as I love old motorcycles and tinkering around with them, I started thinking to myself that maybe I should take a look back through history and the evolution of the styles of the motorcycle in the 1900s. From its rumbling beginnings to the super fast bikes that finished out the century. So, come with me on a fascinating ride through the gears of time. During the early 1900s, the motorcycle, as well as the automobile, were still in their infancy. As technology advanced by leaps and bounds, though, both were developing quickly. While still out of reach for and rarely even seen by most common people, engineers and innovators were working passionately to develop these thrilling machines. Companies like Harley-Davidson and Indian Scout soon began producing and selling machines that were far more than a means of basic transportation. They embodied the spirit of exploration and adventure, giving riders a taste of the wind in their hair and the freedom to venture beyond the horizon. The 20s roared in not only with the sound of jazz, but the thunderous echoes of board track racing. This era witnessed the emergence of adrenaline-fueled races on steeply banked wooden tracks where bikes reached mind-boggling speeds. No brakes and steep angles, it was a spectacle that thrilled audiences and showcased the daring spirit of the time. This was a short-lived era though, and with good reason. As bikes topped 110 miles an hour racing on the steeply banked boards, even the slightest mistake could almost certainly be a fatal one. The tracks themselves were engineering marvels. They were expensive to build and even more so to maintain. Many fell into disrepair, causing cracks, holes, and worst of all, splinters. Even a low-stakes crash on a track like this would have you picking toothpicks out of your backside for days. One of the riders said of the splinters that they were as long as bayonets and as plentiful as hairs. World War II left an indelible mark upon motorcycle design. As military personnel embraced them for their speed and efficiency in the field, the post-war era saw the rise of the cruiser, symbolizing rebellion and individualism. Brands like Harley-Davidson soon found themselves synonymous not only with the open road, but with daredevil behavior and an outlaw lifestyle. The 1960s brought about the cafe racer movement, where speed was not only a preference but a way of life. Stripped-down bikes streamlined for velocity became a hallmark of the time. Daring young riders would race up and down city streets trying to top 100 miles an hour, or do the ton as they called it. Motorcycles had become symbols of rebellion and nonconformity as they were embraced by the countercultures of the 50s and 60s, but one small manufacturer sought to change that for good. Enter the Honda Motor Corporation. Already a powerhouse overseas, Honda hit the American roads with their small, economical bikes, intent on changing the way the world saw the motorcycle. These bikes were expensive, but more importantly, they were reliable and extremely user-friendly, and that's not something that their competitors could boast about. Paired with the "You Meet the Nicest People on a Honda" ad campaign, these bikes were an instant hit, and they helped reform the public image of the motorcycle. The 70s signaled a shift towards off-road dominance, with motocross, hare scrambles, and enduro racing quickly gaining in popularity. Technological leaps were being made in engines, frames, and suspensions, making bikes ever more capable of handling challenging terrain. Trails and tracks became more technical as the bikes progressed, pushing both man and machine to new heights of riding. As much as motorcycling was advancing off-road, so it was on-road as well. With the Honda CBs and the Kawasaki KZs, it seemed Japan was finally ticking all the boxes an enthusiast could ask for. As the 70s wound down, motorcycle development only continued to ramp up. The sleek designs and powerful engines of the 1980s defined an era of speed and precision. Suspension and engines improved drastically. Tires became twice as wide, and old steel frames were reimagined in lightweight aluminum. The pursuit of speed became an art form. The motorcycling community witnessed the marriage of engineering prowess and the sheer thrill of velocity. During the 1990s, sport bikes continued to advance at an astronomical rate. Many of the fastest bikes could top 150 miles an hour, and by the end of the decade were inching much closer to the 200 mark. Motocross and off-road bikes benefited from drastic improvements during this time as well. Companies started to flirt with the idea of aluminum frames like they had done with their road-going counterparts about a decade before. And by the end of the 1990s, something that most people thought would never happen shook the motocross world. Yamaha introduced their YZ400F, the big four-stroke thumper that would end up changing the industry forever. By the end of the 1990s, motorcycling was more popular than ever. Beyond the mechanics and the styles, motorcycles had become cultural touchstones, reflecting and influencing public opinion. From symbols of rebellion to vehicles of personal expression and adventure, motorcycles evolved alongside societal perspectives, becoming ingrained in the fabric of culture and individual identities. So that was a quick exploration of the fascinating evolution of motorcycling during the 20th century. From the early days of innovation to the sleek and stylized machines that crossed the finish line into a new millennium. Motorcycling continues to unite riders throughout time. Speaking of being united, if you like this video, click the subscribe button and join us here for more. Alright my friends, until next time, ride safe, keep the rubber side down.